This is You've Already Been Hacked, recorded on May 2nd, 2025. Welcome back to You've Already Been Hacked. This week, we are going to dive into some of the latest developments in cyber threats, focusing on some high-profile attacks affecting the major retailer of Marks and Spencer's. That's still happening from last week. Wow, that's a long time. And Harrods, also another UK company, as well as a few others. We're going to be exploring how these breaches have impact on businesses and consumers, discuss the ongoing recovery efforts, and examine broader implications for cybersecurity in our connected world. I'm your professor of CyberRisk, and with me, as always, is the Cyber Cowboy. Cowboy, greetings,
Howdy,
sir.
everybody.
All right,
Howdy.
let's get right into it with our top story this evening. The cyber tech at M&S, or Marks and Spencer's, has continued to affect shoppers amid ongoing recovery efforts. M&S issued an update as this crippling attack has continued to affect them for 11 days straight. They've been battling this attack the entire time, and it's affected operations for over, like I said at the time, 11 days. Customers have reported significant disruptions with the company's website and other services rendered unable to function properly. The CEO, Stuart Manchin, has apologized, as most would in this situation, for the inconvenience and say that the company is working around the clock to restore normal service. Experts suggest it may take several more weeks from M&S to fully recover, leaving many shoppers concerned about data security and customer support during this outage. 11 days, like, that's astounding to me. Not so much in the impact, like, I get recovery efforts take a while and it takes time for this to really get there, but the fact that it's forward facing for 11 days, right? Customer impact is still occurring. That's the part that's striking me right now.
Yeah, I mean, they've lost 700 million pounds or $930 million from the stock market value since the hack was revealed.
And we talked
Right?
about this last week, right? It's reputation damage that's going to be the long-term item that's the problem here. It's not necessarily whether or not they're going to get their operations back up and running. That's gonna happen. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, but the reputation damage is there. And the stock market is showing that, right? Almost $1 billion lost in not even half a month. Astounding.
Yeah, and what I find funny is they put out a statement that said, quote, "Our seasoned IT security team immediately took
Seasoned.
proactive steps to keep the system safe." No. You are in reactive mode, my
Yeah.
friend. You did not take proactive steps. You took, oh, it's hitting the fan steps. So
Yeah.
let's be real here,
Let's be
right?
real.
Like,
Well,
please don't
they
gaslight people.
proactively responded.
Yes. And here's the thing: it's not only hitting their consumer products and ordering. They actually had to take down all of their job advertisements from their career website. So
Wow.
applicants can't actually apply for jobs. Like, it's hitting their system across the board since
And,
Easter weekend.
and I think that, this is nothing at Mark and Spencer's. I'm sure they have, and I'm not saying this in any sarcastic way, I'm sure they have plenty of really good people trying to work this problem. What we've hit on before, and what is essentially what it is the attacker needs to be right once. And that one time that the attacker is correct can cause systemic damage. And Marks and Spencer's, they're now dealing with it, right? They're dealing with it, and they've been dealing with it now for going into 11 days. I think that their most pressing concern from a reputation standpoint is to get their forward-facing services back to a consumer level of acceptability. Bifurcate what they have to, turn off internal things that are compromised. Like, I don't know, but the longer that they are outwardly having a problem, the more their brand is going to suffer systemically. It may not recover from it.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're saying all the typical things, right? Oh, this can happen to anybody. Everybody needs to step up their game. I mean, we've been saying that for 10 years, right? Like, less talk, more action, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Best of luck to them. Hopefully, we're not talking about them still a week from today, because that would be close to, we're going into what that would be, about 16 days, 17 days at that point. It'd be crazy. Let's move on to what do we have next? Okay, next on our list is a co-op cyber attack. Hackers steal significant amount of customer data. So the UK again here, just taking it in the hard way. It's just not very fun for them right now. A recent cyber attack on the UK-based cooperative society has resulted in the theft of a quote unquote significant amount of customer data. The breach affected millions of individuals, exposing sensitive information such as financial details and personal addresses. While the exact extent of the damage is still being assessed, affected customers have been advised to monitor their accounts for unauthorized transactions. And this incident highlights the growing threat of cyber attacks on smaller but equally vulnerable organizations, right? And this is something I think we've talked about before, that your large scale organizations are going to have their SOCs, they're going to have specialized people doing cybersecurity full time. That's their job. But when you get to your mid-sized companies and your small companies, right? Not necessarily your mom and pop's small, but just mid to small 100+ person companies, they may not have dedicated cybersecurity staff, and they may just be a lucrative target. And if you have customers in the millions, whether you're small or medium sized, if you're small and you have 1 million customers, congratulations, that's amazing. If you're medium sized and have 1 million customers, you're still doing fantastic. But now, if millions of your customers are impacted, that's a problem.
Yeah, so for our audience, let's talk about what a co op is in England, right? Because it's a little different from here in the United States.
Sure,
So,
let's do that.
Cooperative Group Limited, also known as Co op, they are a British consumer cooperative with various retail businesses, including grocery, funeral care, and insurance. And the biggest thing about that is a cooperative in the UK are businesses that are owned and democratically controlled by their members, right? So, to try to put that in US perspective, it'd be like if the stockholders actually had a say and didn't just listen to the quarterly reports that were put out by their CEOs or whoever else, right? So these cooperatives are controlled by their members who can be customers, employees, or residents. So you've got, and that's not a bad thing, but let's be real, you've got a large group of people who don't understand cyber who are making decisions in these co-ops, right? And so I'm not surprised that their cybersecurity maybe isn't quite up to par as it should be. And unfortunately, this is a punch in the mouth that hopefully wakes up that co-op.
Yeah, but again, if this is there's a balance here, right? If this co-op may realize that they need to be defended, but will that have the domino effect that unfortunately I think we need, which is that everyone kind of wakes up from it that has this type of design to their institutional structure and goes, "Ooh, are we protected?" Right? Like, is that something? I don't know. Uh, a lot of times people just don't, very much like Mark and Spencer's. Sorry to pick on them, but are reactionary. They are not proactive.
Right. And I think there's still too much human nature, oh, it won't happen to me.
Right.
Which, how
Right.
many examples do we need before you get over that, right? But that's just a human thing for whatever reason. I don't know if that's genetic or what it is in the human nature that says, "Oh, it's not going to happen to me." I see it in my job and the people some of the engineers and other folks that I work with every day that just still are like, "Oh, it's not going to happen here. It's not a big deal."
Well, wish the people you work with best of luck, Cowboy. That's
I,
that's frightening in of itself. Um,
it's a struggle every day.
our next story leads into it. It just amplifies what we're talking about here, right? So, high street cyber attacks need to be the wake up call for businesses. This is what we're saying. Experts, not necessarily the professor and the cowboy, but other experts, are warning that cyber attacks on major high street retailers like Mark and Spencer and Harrods, another UK retailer, was also hacked in the past week, could be a sign of a broader trend. Cyber criminals are increasingly targeting large organizations with sophisticated attacks, often aiming to disrupt the operations and steal data. While Mark and Spencer's has been at the center of a recent wave of cyber incidents, other businesses across various sectors are also at risk. The Mirror reports that this may take months for M&S to fully recover from their attack. And Harold's, I only just recently looked into that one. Another UK retailer also attacked. Here's a co-op that's being. What is going on in the UK? They actually have pretty robust cyber security infrastructure from the state level down. So this is interesting to me.
They do, and you see I think a shift in the targeted attacks, a little bit away from the uh, sort of close your eyes and throw a dart at the board and see what you get, versus like let's take a little bit of time to target people who have money, right? I think they're moving away from hitting places like uh, I think, let me rephrase, the sophisticated attackers are moving
Ah,
away from hitting things like schools that don't really have money, right? And they're going after large retail stores that have the money and the capital and the need to pay to get back online to continue to make money. Whereas schools, one, don't have money, and two, they're not losing millions or hundreds of millions of dollars every day when they're down, right? It's impacting the kids, which is a whole other story. But they're going after just the pocketbook, the bottom line of these revenue source businesses, and that makes sense from a criminal enterprise standpoint, right? So I think that's why we're seeing this a small shift in the trends here.
yeah. Um, Go after the people with the pocketbooks to pay and the ones that have to worry about that reputation damage so that they will pay. It's interesting, and it's interesting, really interesting to me that it's happening in the UK as opposed to somewhere else with this level of significant attack. Not to say that, it shouldn't happen in the UK. I'm not saying it should or shouldn't. Professor doesn't make that type of distinction, nor would I want anyone to get hacked. But just going after an infrastructure that seems, or you would believe, would be robust and is still being successful. That's the part that is troubling to me. Um, the going after people with money, Cowboy, yeah, absolutely makes sense, right? You go after schools, you really make everybody angry. You go after places like retailers or hospitals, they need to be up and operating. That's their, they're gonna make this go away as fast as they can. So yeah, I get the targets. I'm just interested in the place where that's being targeted.
I'd also really like to see some attribution, even if it's a best guess. I'd really be interested to see where these attacks are coming out of. Are they truly just monetary, or is there something else behind it?
Well, yeah, I mean, is it a targeted attack like from a unfriendly territory, or is it just a cyber criminal attack? Right? Yeah, that'd be very interesting. And as everyone can see here in the digital sock with us, attacks are happening everywhere simultaneously to everyone, constantly. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get any attribution, and even if they can, if they'll even publicize it. I'm surprised at this point we haven't heard more about the legal authorities in the UK being involved in this at this point. I'm sure they are, but the fact that it hasn't really made much in the press is what's interesting to me.
Yeah, definitely. Their major cyber government agency is like a one-liner midway through any type of big article
Event.
surrounding this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. If if the mirror is right and it takes months, we may be talking about them at least on and off for a little while. So we'll see what happens. Hitting another country that we hit recently, India's digital siege, a million cyber attacks later. 1 million cyber attacks and counting. India has been under digital siege post the Palhalgram. I may have misstated that, so please don't hate mail the professor for saying it. I tried my best. Terror attack. In the aftermath of that recent terror attack, India in India, a wave of cyber attacks have hit the country with over 1 million incidents reported. These attacks have targeted government websites, banking systems, and other critical infrastructure. While officials are working to mitigate the damage, the scale of the breach has raised concerns about the country's cybersecurity readiness. And this is exactly what we were just talking about with regard to the UK, one that does have infrastructure and they are being hit and being taken for a ride. And geez, India, 1 million cyber attacks again, and these look to be targeted, right? Government institutions, banking institutions, critical infrastructure. This is definitely, for lack of a better word, loaded. So apologies, Cowboy, if this triggers you too. But this is cyber terrorism. What I'm seeing happen.
Yeah, absolutely. It's no secret that Pakistan and India are not best of buddies, and within open source, it's very open that these are attributed to Pakistan-sponsored hacker groups launching these attacks against Indian websites, and so you just continue to see that cyber attacks is not the future of attacks anymore. It's today. It's the now.
Yeah, it's. I mean, if it really is cyber terrorism, the ability to influence or to change your victim's response or position or willingness to give in to demands, I think is pretty high in cyber. Now, okay, maybe you could argue government gets attacked in cyberspace, expected, right? Maybe not much changes there. Maybe you could even argue that banking systems, while that hurts, they'll be made whole through insurance. Okay. Critical infrastructures, though, however, that's where, not to give anybody an idea what to target, but you start going after services that people rely on heavily. Not to say they don't rely on other government services or banking, but healthcare, water, electricity, especially in a country like India, who, let's just face it, doesn't have the most robust infrastructure in a couple of those categories. Today, yeah, that's gonna affect people real quick, and it's gonna have a real profound impact on what the response will be.
Yeah, and I get sensitive around the use of the word terrorist. I think it is in today's world it's thrown around
Agreed.
a little bit too much, right? Because it garners the response from the people, right? But yes, so that's why the United States has um, uh, denoted 13 critical infrastructures, which basically translates in U.S. law to if you attack this, it's an automatic act of war, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those like we're not playing around. Like you attacked a water service, like that is an act of war. Now we've seen things get hit, we don't necessarily follow through, and that's a whole other topic. But it's at least tried to draw that line in the sand that is like, look, it's the Wild West. We're working through it. We do it to you, you do it to us, but you hit these things and it's game over, right? And it's a mediocre at best first step toward reining in the Wild West, Cyber Cowboy. That is the cyber realm, right? Because as we see, we talk every week about cyber attacks that happen, and there's just no uh, justice. There's no retribution, minimal at best, and we've got to figure out how to rein it in.
Yeah, real chicken and the egg problem. Maybe when our AI overlords gain sentience, that'll be a place that'll get adjusted. But we'll see
Well,
until then.
all hail AI overlords.
Well, don't talk bad to them. And remember, every time you say please and thank you, it costs OpenAI a lot of money, right? And that was another recent thing that came out, that just those extra tokens alone are costing them millions of dollars, which I think is kind of funny. Okay, our next story, a little bit serious, a little bit different tone. Former Cal State athlete sues over national cyber sexual attack. A former volleyball player from Huntington Beach has filed a lawsuit alleging that the University of Michigan offensive coach Matthew Wise hacked into her personal photos and social media. The suit claims the coach accessed sensitive information through an athletic training database and used it to commit the breach. This case highlights the growing trend of cyber attacks targeting athletes and other individuals in the public eye. That's frightening, right? Because again, this is going after people, essentially kids, older kid, adult, depending, not trying to put anybody down here, but this person was entrusted at university to a member, an employee of that university for certain points and purposes. In this case, sports volleyball team, right? If this coach did do what is alleged here, that is a severe violation of trust. Not to mention all the horrific things that go along with this and the violation of law and all that, but just this is a person that you entrust yourself with, right? This is someone that you're expecting to lead you, to guide you, to train you, and to help you achieve what your goals are. And they're now allegedly compromising you in some of the worst ways. It's deplorable. It truly is.
I take such offense to this because, as someone who's coached teams before, the the protective father figure
or mother figure, right? There are
sense,
women coaches too.
Right, 100% parent figure, right? It's about the safety and camaraderie of your team, and it's hard for me to even fathom doing this. And this highlights something that, again, the professor and I are not political, right? But at the end of the day, if somebody does something good, we can recognize it, right? And there is a bill called Take It Down Act, which is going to the President of the United States desk that says deepfake nude images without a person's consent is punishable by not only fines, but jail time. And I don't know if there's a provision within this that covers straight hacking into a phone and stealing real things, but to continue going after, and we'll likely have, if not a full show, a half show just on deepfakes and all of that that's
God.
coming out, right? But I heard a high school girl the other day on a news broadcast talking about how people were making deep fake nude images of her and getting them out there, right? Which they're so good now, you don't know it's not her, and that is not only just absolutely deplorable, like, but we have to have a way to hold folks accountable, and so I'm so grateful that almost every single person voted in favor of this, right? Because it takes us in unity, standing together, saying it's going to stop, or you're going to go to jail. Like, we're not
Yeah,
joking around here,
I think
right?
the
And
number was
as a father of daughters, of virtual daughters, right? Like, this has to happen.
I
We have
couldn't
to
agree
protect
more.
people.
I don't. I will say I'll say this just because I think it's really important. I haven't read the bill, so I don't know all the provisions in it. I don't know all the language in it. I don't know. I don't know if it is a quality bill and one that should have this much support or not. In the text, conceptually, I'm fully on board. Right. The level of sophistication in deepfakes today and what can be done, whether it be through text, through video, through imagery, through audio, is so good that the line between reality and not is completely blurred. And the fact that illicit photos can be made today of basically anyone that anyone wants to do without their consent is really, really troubling. Whether you're a parent, a significant other, a friend, or just someone out in the community that just doesn't. This is just it's not a healthy place for us to be. Now, I will add flip side, not to the illicit or improper use of, but the ability to have that level of refinement for imagery and audio and video. There can be a lot of good that will come out of that type of technology, but these uses are not good. And that's something that I think showing, I think the number was 409 to 2 in Congress. And I don't know why 2 people voted against it. Again, that maybe they had problem with something in the bill or a writer or who knows, right? I won't speculate.
Right.
But the fact that you had that much support in both chambers of Congress to push this through should tell you that everyone agrees it's not the right use of the technology, right? Now, Cowboy, you hit on the key word there, consent. If someone wants to do, if 2 consenting people want to do this, fine, whatever, have fun. Like, that's your business, right? But that knife edge is really, really sharp. And a lot of people not only could be hurt by it, but are being hurt by it. And again, I don't know if the bill covers what happened to this University of Michigan student, and if this the actions here alleged are real, but in all cases, like, just deplorable. The fact that this person, to lead it back to the story, the fact that this person, through their trust, used data that they acquired through legitimate means to do something illegitimate to a person who gave them their trust, overall, absolutely horrific, right? And
you're
that
right.
has
There's
to
a
stop
bridge
too.
there. Yeah, there's a bridge there, right? Like deepfake AI versus straight hacking into someone's phone. Different but connected, right? And hacking into someone's personal phone already kind of has some accountability associated with that, but as a whole, and I'm a very accountability focused person. Like, I don't believe in holding the inanimate objects accountable. I believe firmly in holding the people accountable, right? So I don't blame AI, right, for people doing deepfakes. I blame people for doing deepfakes, right?
Yeah.
So Matthew Weiss, shame on you. You hacked. You did wrong.
We don't know.
Allegedly.
We don't know. You got to
Sorry.
be careful. Yeah, you got to be careful.
You're 100% allegedly. Allegedly, you did wrong, and if found guilty, should be held accountable. Right?
100% agree with you. 100% agree.
So,
Cowboy, you got anything else for us this evening?
yeah. I mean, to everybody, thank you for listening to us. As always, leave us a comment. Let us know what you'd like to hear about, what you'd like us to cover. We want to educate. We want to discuss. We want to hear from folks. So until next time, stay cyber aware. Don't click on the muffins. I mean links. Muffins are delicious.
Muffins are delicious. And I'm the Professor of CyberRisk. We'll talk to you all next time. That's all for the news this week. I'm your Professor of CyberRisk. We'll talk again soon. If you like this podcast, share it with your colleagues and friends. Your support is how we are able to continue to make this content. Thank you.